Okay, this is the One Tough Guy channel. This is Prophet Rohei Nabi. Okay, the host of the channel. And we're going to get started on this topic here. And the title of this topic for this evening is the dubious relationship between Israelites and the U.S. I wrote U.S. like us because it really means us, white people, Caucasians. The us, U.S. enemies banking system. Now, this is something I've been wanting to cover for quite some time right now. And I think this is something that I need to just throw myself into. And as I'm doing a presentation, I'm doing research at the same time. And so the first article of research that I'm going to use in dealing with this topic is an article that I am going to share with you. It's an article I'm going to share with you. Let's see here. So I'm going to share this article with you all. And we're just going to read through it. Like I said, I'm just doing this on the fly research as it because I want to learn more about this banking system, because the Most High has been showing me stuff in dreams about the banking system that our people love to deal with. We've trained to deal with. We've been brainwashed into dealing with. So I want to delve into some of the history. And this is from the website makechange.aspiration.com, the untold history of Black banking in America. And this article was written by Michael Taylor. And the Professor Mihersa Baradaran is the author of a book called The Color of Money, Black Banks and the Racial Wealth Gap. Very popular book. A history of Black-owned and Black-oriented banks in the United States. It's not a happy story. And you could buy this book on Amazon or any place where books are sold. Baradaran's narrative spans the post-Civil War Reconstruction years to the present day. And in it, she tracks the government's basic failure to equip former slaves with trustworthy wealth-building institutions. I don't like the way that this is written, because it almost gives wiggle room for like it was an accident or something, or it was just an oversight. I would like for this to have been written in more definitive language. So it says here, the basic failure to equip former slaves with trustworthy wealth-building institutions in the 1800s. The disastrous effects, poverty, and racist economic segregation had on Black banks' ability to serve their community. The cynical use of Black capitalism rhetoric by mainstream politicians, particularly Richard Nixon, to diffuse demands for meaningful economic justice reform and the impossible situation many Black financial institutions found themselves in as a result of the Great Recession. Throughout, Bradarans doesn't shy away from the tough questions about whether economic success is meaningful without corresponding political power. Let me read that again. Throughout, Bradarans doesn't shy away from the tough question about whether economic success is meaningful without corresponding political power, whether banks create only to serve Black communities could ever succeed, and what white America's current responsibility is to entrench and growing racial wealth gap. Very interesting. Very interesting. As a student of history and finance myself, I was fascinated by her book. Read my review here, which exposes a side of capitalism and finance about which I know very little. Bradaran and I had a great discussion recently. Interview has been condensed and edited for clarity. Make change. I want to have you explain some of the history of the Freedmen's Savings Bank. This is something that every African American should know about. The Freedmen's Savings Bank, which the author of this story says she had never heard of, and which is maybe the most awful story you tell. But I suspect, unless you were a scholar of Black banking, most people don't know the story. So Mercia Branaran, she goes on. It's surprising that we don't know this story. The Freedmen's Bureau was created by President Abraham Lincoln. It is meant to be help. It was meant to help freed slaves transition into capitalism. You've gone from being capital to being capitalist. Isn't that interesting? So you have to get wages for your employment and transition into the populace. Everything basically that is meant to alleviate the transition ends up getting vetoed by Andrew Jackson after President Lincoln is assassinated. So 40 acres and a mule, labor protections against exploitation, all of that stuff is vetoed. The Freedmen's Bureau ends up becoming a failed effort. And the reason it's a failed effort is because the South, short of violently overthrowing their efforts, one of the things that survived Johnson's veto is the Freedmen's Savings Bank. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I don't believe that the Freedmen's Saving Bank, I don't believe that was an accident. I don't believe that that's just something they allowed for us to have for our benefit. I believe that they allowed for us to have a Freedmen's Savings Bank so they could surveil our income, so they could do surveillance and keep track of what we were doing and how big and strong we were getting. I think that's the real reason why they gave us a Freedmen's Savings Bank. Because the way this is written, it says the one thing that survived Johnson's veto, as if it fell through, it slipped through the crack. No, it didn't slip through the crack. They staged it. That's something they wanted us to have so they can keep tabs on how strong we were becoming. The thinking here is we're not going to give you land because that becomes politically impossible. It's not that it was politically impossible, y'all. The reason why they didn't give us land is because they knew that slaves that were experts in growing food were going to eclipse the economic progress of Caucasian people because they didn't have us on farms anymore. So it was economically strategic for them not to give us 40 acres and a mule. They knew that if they gave some slaves and people who knew how to work like slaves 40 acres and a mule, game was going to be over for the United States of America. That's why they didn't give us 40 acres and a mule. Let's keep it real. So it wasn't economically, politically possible for them to give us 40 acres and a mule, but we're going to give you a savings account and you're going to save up your wages and buy land yourself. Y'all, they never wanted slaves to buy land. That's the last thing you want, some freshly freed people. They didn't want to give us land and they didn't want us to buy land. You know how quickly these Caucasian oppressors, I'm trying to stop using the word white supremacy. These Caucasian oppressors, you know how fast their government would have folded up if our people as ex-slaves would have got hold to some land? Please. Please. We was the reason why they had the wealth that they had. They were blocking us from getting land. And the reason why they had a savings bank, because they wanted to monitor how much money we were generating in order to buy land so they can seize the funds in the bank and have us start over from ground zero. That's all that was about, y'all. They don't want no people who know how to work like slaves owning no land. Come on. They know the game is over. If our people start growing cotton, tobacco, indigo, please, that would have challenged their own economy. That's why they allowed for us to have a savings bank, y'all. And watch this, y'all. But we're going to give you a savings account and you're going to save up your wages and buy land yourself. Please, y'all. That was the okey doke. They don't want no slaves buying no land, y'all. Okay? They experts in growing stuff and they got the work ethic of a slave. Something they don't have. Please, y'all. We're going to have to start doing more thinking. This is not a commercial bank, so there won't be any loans. Why won't there be any loans? The reason why they wasn't going to give blacks, ex-slaves, loans is because guess what slaves was going to buy? Land. Yeah, land. They was going to buy land. They don't want slaves who know how to work like slaves with the work ethic of a slave with their hands on land. They don't want that. And this is the reason why they didn't grant any loans. It's basically a glorified piggy bank. And guess what? Our people fell for it. It wasn't really a bank, a piggy bank, y'all. The savings account benefited our oppressors. All the money that our people were putting in this freedman savings bank benefited only Caucasians. Didn't give loans to us, but guess who they did give loans to? Caucasian oppressors. Yep, they were giving loans, y'all, off our savings in our piggy bank. See, they were strengthening their monopoly by allowing us to have a savings bank but it don't issue any loans. See, this is the kind of stuff our people fall for. Why? Because the only thing we can see is the bag. All we can see is being like white people, having the upward mobility of Caucasians, and because of this, we fell into the okey doke trap called the Freedmen's Savings Bank. See, they were able to surveil us. And let me tell you this, all the black leaders of the day, Frederick Douglass and everybody else, W.E.B. Du Bois and all those characters, guess what? They were for the Freedmen's Bank. All of them were for the Freedmen's Bank. None of our black leaders protected us from the Freedmen's Bank. None of them. I don't care how many degrees they had, how much of a statement they had. No, they were benefiting off our backs by encouraging us to put our money in the Freedmen's Bank. Yes, they were getting commissions and kickbacks. Frederick Douglass, all of them, y'all. All the black Masons back in Frederick Douglass' day, they was getting kickbacks off of encouraging us putting our money in the Freedmen's Bank. Y'all, we ain't never had no real strong black leaders that are notable. We ain't had those kind of leaders, y'all. I know y'all think we're going to have an Obama come save us or a Frederick Douglass. No. Frederick Douglass was sleeping he was laying too close to the enemy to help us. He was. It's really dangerous when it looks like the full faith and credit. Or I think I skipped over something. It's basically a glorified piggy bank. It's created by Congress at a time when we barely have a national banking system. But it is not linked with the government. It looks like it is because on the note of the bank, it's got Abraham Lincoln's face. It's got the American flag on the building in Washington, D.C. It's advertised as an appendage of a treasury, but it's not. It's not even a real treasury note. This is the kind of stuff our black leaders gets us into. This is the kind, them strong black talkers like Farrakhan, they'll be in the they'd be in the back office somewhere cutting a deal to sell us out like Frederick Douglass did. I'm not saying that Frederick Douglass never did any good thing for black people, but for the most part, he was just selling us out. He was just managing us. That's all he was doing, y'all. Come on, we don't have strong black leaders that can lay right in the bed with our enemy. You don't have, no, there's no such thing as that. It's really dangerous when it looks like it's a full faith and credit linked with the federal government, but it actually not. That is the worst combination because you got private gains and public losses. Look at that, y'all. They give us financial instruments where it has private gains, but as a people, we suffer public losses. And none of our black leaders were rebelling against this when it was happening in the 1800s. So this is essentially this bank. You have a private president. This is Henry Cook, and he is the brother with Jay Cook. And Jay Cook is a notorious railroad speculator. Consider railroad bonds. as the mortgage-backed securities. Look at this, y'all. They taking our money that we're saving and they're building railroads with it for private companies. See, this is our leaders don't be protecting us from this kind of stuff, even to this day. That's why all of us, most 95% of us ended up voting for Barack Obama. Nobody was screaming against Obama. And nobody was screaming against this. Consider railroad bonds as the mortgage-backed securities and derivatives markets in the day. Huge upside, huge risk. What happens when Henry Koch says is, I got millions of dollars, 1.5 billion in today's money, and it's just sitting here. Why don't I take this money and invest it in the railroad speculative market? No black leader was protecting us from the Cook family, from Henry Koch. See, we be having all these old heads on poster cards during Black History Month. But where was they at when this was happening? Huh? Why don't I just take the money and invest it in the railroad speculative market? Although he's just supposed to be safeguarded like a piggy bank. So the person that our people love to give their money to for safekeeping is their enemy. This goes all the way back to the 1800s when there was not even a national banking system set up. The only time black people feel safe with having their money is if it's in the hands of their enemies. Now, you had slaves. They knew how these people were, and they still took their money and gave it straight to the devil. They went straight to Satan and said, you know what, Satan, could you hold on to this for me? I want it to be safe. That's why I'm giving it to you, Satan. I trust you. Wow. On this site stood the principal office of the Freedmen's Savings and Trust Company, founded on March the 3rd, 1865. Right after slavery, y'all, white people said, okay, let's set up a bank so we can steal these niggas' monies, because they are definitely giving it to us. They are definitely giving it to us. They so deep. We gotta set this bank up right away while the haze of Stockholm syndrome is still gripping the mind. Let's set it up right now. March the 3rd, 1865, to receive deposits from former slaves. Frederick Douglass served as its last president. No, you don't think Frederick Douglass was getting a kickback? You think I'm just running my mouth, don't you? You just think I'm just bringing down the ancestors, right? y'all love the evil, don't y'all? Y'all love the technology, don't you? Frederick Douglass served as its last president. The bank was closed on June 29th, 1874. The building was sold in 1862 and razed a few years later. The whole purpose of the Freedmen's Saving and Trust Bank was to make sure that slaves stay slaves and they don't even generate wealth, but they give it right back to their enemies. And that's exactly what the Freedmen's Savings and Trust accomplished. See, we like that's why we call it white supremacy, because we admire it. We believe the people really are white and pure, and we believe that they're supreme. That's why we always say white supremacy. That's why we never say Caucasian or European oppression. These people are oppressors. It's nothing supreme about these people. But this is and many of us as even Israelites, we're raising our children to worship white people. We're raising up our children to worship white people. I'm going to tell you the prima facie way that our people are teaching their children to worship white people. Okay, you took down the picture of white Jesus, but guess what you're going to tell them to do? Guess what you're going to tell them to do? You're going to tell them to go straight to the bank and deposit all their money. That's worship right there. That's worship right there. You're going to tell your children, make sure you got you a savings account, a checking account, and get you a CD and get all these financial instruments that invest in all these financial instruments that they offer, and keep your money in there. Don't touch it. Don't touch it, so you can put their children through school, so you can provide funds so they can get student loans, business loans, car loans, and pay off their health bills expenses. That's white. That's what y'all call white supremacy. Depositing your money in the bank for your enemy is you got Stockholm syndrome. But you won't take that same money and put it into your people that are seeking first the kingdom. You're not going to do that, because that's dangerous as hell. That's dangerous as hell. Oh, hell no. I'm not going to take my money and give it to anybody that really serves the Most High for real, for real. That's damn dangerous. That is damn dangerous. If I start doing stuff like that, the Most High might open up the windows of heaven and pour me out a blessing that I won't have room enough to receive. Oh, hell no. Hell no. I'm not going to. Oh, no. I want to make sure white mommy, white daddy keep getting my money and have it sit in the bank, working for them like a slave. Let me tell you something, y'all. Y'all think slavery is over. Let me tell you something. When you take your money and put it in the bank, and white people, Caucasian people, take your money and they make loans on your money in the bank through fractional reserve lending, you're still a slave. Your money is working for them. They won't give you a loan. Them not giving us a loan, y'all, goes all the way back to 1865. Hello. Hello. You go to work every day and you chop off a little money to save for white daddy to slave your money. And by them slaving your money is a token of your life. Oh boy, I'm preaching now. Oh, hallelujah. The Holy Ghost is flowing now. Oh, hallelujah. Hallelujah. Oh, good grief. Woo! The most trusted people in the Black community are banks and credit unions. They are more trusted than even pastors. No Black person is going to give any money to a righteous pastor for safekeeping. No, nobody's going to do that. But we will go to that Caucasian European bank, and we can prove historically that they are thieves, and we will happily deposit our money in a savings and checking account. We love that. That gives us a sense, that makes us feel like we're adults. It makes us feel like we're adults. It makes us feel like, we are successful. Let me tell you something. I believe if Yehoshua was here today, I believe if Yehoshua was on earth today, I don't believe that our people would give their money even to him for safekeeping. I don't believe that our people today, yeah, I'm talking about Israelites, Christians, whoever, Muslims, Buddhists, wherever black people are at, I don't believe that we would give our money to the Mashiach and let him hold it. We'll be looking at him with a side eye. We'll be looking at him with a side eye. They're like, I don't know about this Mashiach boy. I don't know. Ooh. Oh, we need our minds renewed, y'all. We need our minds renewed. The only way we can even get money and wealth, Deuteronomy 8:18, is through the Mashiach. But we wouldn't even trust him with his own money he gave us. Oh my goodness. Oh, good grief. We not ready, y'all. We are not ready. We are not ready, y'all. Let me continue with this article. MC, I think you said in your book he had early success. His first investments worked. Jay Cook first investment did work. Jay Cook is the brother of Henry Cook, the railroad magnate. It reminds me of the aphorism that the worst thing that could happen to an investor is to have early success. Right. But that's speculative market in general. Now, let me tell you something, y'all. The only way that Henry Cook and Jay Cook were able to take the money and invest it in a speculative market like the railroad is because the federal government allowed it. The federal government allowed it. They were complicit with the Cook brothers. They take our money and put it on the speculative stock market for the railroads. But that's what the speculative market in general. You know what you're getting into, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. See, the reason why he could speak so cavalierly about it, because it's not his money. But the problem is these depositors didn't know what they were getting into. Oh, I wonder where was Frederick Douglass when all this was happening. He was the president of the bank. Hello, Frederick Douglass from the grave. Why didn't you warn us? And yet, black people, our people are glorifying every February Frederick Douglass and how great he was because he learned how to read and became a statesman, but yet he sold us out. I know we love that Frederick Douglass. We love all the leaders that can sell us out and keep their mouth shut. They don't scream, they don't yell. Yeah, they write some little black power speeches every now and then just to get us riled up. But at the end of the day, they're gonna sell us out. And don't think that Frederick Douglass didn't get paid for shutting his mouth. Don't think he didn't get paid. Y'all, stop it. Y'all living in a fantasy world of denial. Stop. That's how it works. That's why they made Frederick Douglass the president of the bank. Oh, God. Oh, man. It's the same thing that we see in Matthew chapter 4, 1 through 11, Luke chapter 1 through 13. The three temptations: food, religious power, and or civil power. Frederick Douglass failed the test, y'all. He failed. He sold us out. But our people today worship Frederick Douglass. They worship him. They worship and glorify his name. You know, and it seemed like the real qualification of most black people for you to become great with them, you have to sell us out. And if you make that, they'll worship you forever. We've been worshiping Frederick Douglass for over 100 years. Oh boy, we like this kind of abuse. These freed slaves thought their deposits were going into like a locked safety deposit box. I wonder why they thought that, Frederick Douglass. I wonder who told them that, Frederick Douglass. And all the other black leaders, W.E.B. Du Bois, all those guys that were around that time. Y'all, they treat us like children. They're taking your money in the bank and doing all kind of stuff with it. Funding wars, having abortions, putting their children through school, putting car loan, getting braces on their children's teeth. But our people, I didn't know they were doing that. I don't know nothing. Bucking our eyes. I don't know. The leaders didn't tell me that. Please, you think these Caucasians have changed? No, they're the same old demons they've always been, y'all. You don't need a leader to tell you this. These people whip your back during slavery, and then you take your money and deposit it in their hands? Come on, y'all. You don't need Frederick Douglass to tell you that. Come on, y'all. You need somebody to tell you that? These people raped your daughters, killed your daughters, chopped off foots, chopped off arms, hung people, lynched people, and then you need a leader, a black leader, to tell you, yeah, you shouldn't put your money in your enemy's hand. You need really? Come on, y'all. No. Hey, you need a black leader to tell you don't put your money in the devil's hands, who just got through scarring your back up with 100 lashes, ripping your father apart with 2 horses, feeding your children to alligators. You need a black leader to tell you that? Oh, man. Come on, y'all. How did we get into this Freedman Bank situation with Henry Koch and Jay Koch? Y'all, I don't understand what's wrong with us. We're doing the same stuff today. Black people have never taken their money out the bank to 2015 and put it into their own people. Not just hoard it, but put it into your own people. But what was happening? What was happening with Henry Koch? Just takes the money, put it in Jay Koch's ventures, and the whole thing goes bust. And the freed slaves lose half of their deposits. It just goes poof, gone. Nobody goes to jail. Why? Because the federal government is in on it. The federal government is your enemy, y'all. All this prior to 1933 and FDIC reform. Absolutely. You said they recovered half. They recovered about 40% of their deposits. So more than half was lost. But as W.E.B. Du Bois and Frederick Douglass say, this is a huge blow to the community because not only had they trusted the federal government, but these wages didn't come easy to these people. See, y'all, this is just rhetoric of Frederick Douglass and W.E.B. Du Bois. W.E.B. Du Bois and Frederick Douglass was in on this. Y'all stop. Y'all just stop it. You know, y'all, please. Now they're going to cart out Frederick Douglass and W.E.B. Du Bois to placate us. Come on, y'all. But the wages did not come easy to these people. Think about what it was like to make a living in the post-Reconstruction South. This was before the Great Migration largely. These are sharecroppers. See, all this is rhetoric, y'all. People who are barely scraping by. They are working really hard to get these wages in this bank, and then it just goes away. Y'all, sit down, W.E.B. Du Bois. Sit down, Frederick Douglass. Have a couple of seats, please, for we hang y'all. They should have been lynching Frederick Douglass and W.E.B. Du Bois. That's what they should have been doing. And they should have found them Koch brothers and then lynched them too. That's what they should have been doing. You have black intellectuals, black bankers, black businessmen for 100 years after the Freedmen Bank talk about its failure and the distrust and the bitterness it put in the community that reverberated through time. But this was celebrated as one success of Reconstruction. Look at that, y'all. Then they throw it in our face as a success of Reconstruction because black people had a Freedmen Bank where more than 50% of their income was plundered under the watch of Frederick Douglass and W.E.B. Du Bois and all these other black leaders of the day. Not only does it take away all the money, but it also creates a sense of distrust in institutions that is not conducive to growing capital. Taking it today, look at the unbanked and underbanked. 60% of blacks in South don't have a bank account. Duh, I wonder why. Now look at this number here, y'all. 60% of blacks in the South do not have bank accounts. But remember, they told us that 40% of the money was not stolen by Jay Cook and Henry Cook. 40 plus 60 is 100. They took 60% of our savings in the Freedmen's Bank, and up to today, 60% of blacks in the South don't have bank accounts. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? It's shocking that it's a correct current number. I don't know if you can draw a direct line to the Freedmen Bank. Stop acting stupid. Of course you could draw a direct line from the Freedmen Bank. This is prophetic. This is prophetic that 60% of blacks in the South don't have bank accounts when they stole 60% of our savings during the time that there was a Freedmen's Bank. That's prophetic. Which gets into the thing that comes back over and over again throughout your book. This tension between integration versus separation. We're going to create our own banks. Has, in theory, its own strength and reasons behind it. It's not going to be successful, y'all. We still in love with white people way too much to have a successful black bank. It ain't gonna be really black. It's just gonna be another form of the Freedmen's Bank. That's all it's going to be, y'all. Come on. Let's stop fooling ourselves. They trying to get another form of Freedmen's Bank, but they're going to call it Black Bank. The Black Bank. Y'all, it's not going to be nothing but a Freedmen's Bank of today. That's all it's going to be, y'all. Don't fall for the okie doke. The prophet is trying to warn you. Stop. We don't need another Freedmen's Bank so we can get played again. Oh, stop it, y'all. Stop it. But when our people see Black Bank, they're going to buck their eyes and they're going to deposit them, take it out of White Bank and put it in the Freedmen's Bank. And guess what? The same thing is going to happen with Jay Cook and Henry Cook. It's going to happen again. Oh, boy, we ain't learning. Oh, boy. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm putting so much emphasis on this and I'm crying out. I'm sorry I'm crying out like this. I'm sorry. Yeah, I just be wanting us not to fall for the okie doke. Boy, but we just love that okie doke. That Stockholm syndrome got a hold on us. And no matter how much we study the Bible, no matter how much we sing praises, we keep putting our money in our enemy's hand. Oh, good grief. But we getting what we deserve. We reaping what we sowing. So, hey. But also, if you don't have the diversity of the white middle class depositors, as well as the ability to lend that mortgage market, you end up having costlier deposits and less profitability. The separation creates a lot of problems. Yeah, that's why we should leave all that stuff alone. There's an anecdote you told towards the end of the book about One United Bank, which is a Black-owned bank formed in 1968, and its PR problem with the Charles Street's AME Church. I think it explains a lot of this. What happens is the Charles Street AME is one of the oldest Black churches in the country. It has a history of being central to the abolitionist movement, the civil rights movement, and it needs a loan to create a new rec center, community center. Boston's best and only Black-owned bank is the One United Bank. It started as Unity Bank in 1968 as a civil rights era way for the community to organize, to self-finance. Now it becomes One United. One United gives the church a loan of, I think, 7 million, and then some more. It ends up becoming a 10 or 12 million. And after the financial crisis that started in 2007, both the bank and the church struggled. As I demonstrated in the book, because of higher levels of poverty, Black communities are hit much harder during a financial crisis. This one was no exception. The Black community lost 50% of its wealth. The Black banking industry was decimated. Hey, hello, it happened again with the One United Bank in 2007. See, I keep trying to tell y'all, let's stop trying to be like white people having Black banks. Let's just stop it, y'all. Stop it. The Black bank is a scam. The Black bank is a scam. All this talk about Black banks is a scam. It's not fiscally responsible. The Most High didn't tell us to set up no Black bank. He told us what to do with our money. He told us how to invest our money. But we want a Black bank that operates like the white bank. And look what keeps happening. Hey, y'all, I'm reading history to y'all. This is not cunningly devised fables. I got receipts right here. Black banks and white banks only only benefit Caucasians. Oh boy, you don't hear about their banks losing money like this. And if they do lose money, guess what they're going to get? They're going to get a come up. They're going to get a bailout. Hello. Nobody bailed out none of these banks. Who bailed out the Freeman's Bank? Who bailed out the One United Bank? Nobody. But soon as Caucasian people banks start losing money and blowing money, they get a bailout. See y'all. I'm not convincing nobody of nothing. I'm not convincing nobody. Because you're gonna have black people sitting around listening to this. You're gonna have Israelites sitting around listening to this, talking about, I ain't gonna let no nigga tell me what to do with my money. Who gonna give it right to the devil? See, our people are stiff-necked, rebellious. I'm a grown man. I ain't gonna have nobody telling me what to do with my money. Okay, go ahead. So when the One United Bank needs funds, like a ton of banks, they were saved during the financial crisis with TARP funds. Then the church fails. But One United has these TARP funds to pay back. TARP funds? Oh, please. Oh, now they want to pimp us. Now they want to kick us while we're down by giving us TARP funds that we'll never be able to pay back. Oh boy. So they want to enslave the whole black community by them trying to pay back TARP funds for a bailout. So not only do they steal 50% of our income, but they kick us when we're down by giving us TARP funds, and like fools, we accept it. And then they pimp the whole neighborhood. Wow. Oh my goodness. We ready? Y'all think this group of people is ready to go to the kingdom? Please. The only group, please. They more ready to go to hell than they ready to go to the kingdom. Hey, oh. So the enemy that oh my goodness, this is like too crazy. Then the church fails, but One United has the TARP funds to pay back. And so One United decides to foreclose on the Charles Street AME Church. They have this foreclosure auction, sort of one of the church steps. And it begins this huge fiasco, PR-wise, because between a foreclosing bank and a black church, the community is going to side with the church. A ton of black pastors from around the country and press come in defense of the church to say, how dare you foreclose on this church? And ironically, you're this black bank. Should you understand the importance of this black institution, plus the fact that you have gotten these TARP funds? One of the pastors talk about the parable of the ungrateful servant who gets his debts wiped out by the Lord and then turns around and make the debtors pay. And so they're saying this bank is essentially the ungrateful servant here. But One United has to pay back the TARP fund. It's having a huge struggle to be solvent. And the irony isn't that they foreclosed. The irony is that they were the only bank that was basically willing to give this black church its loan. And that's across the board the case. This is so funny to me. This is so funny to me because the black church they're foreclosing on, guess what? The main people who have deposits in the bank are the people who go to this black church. Wow. Oh my goodness. This is a hot mess. This is a hot mess. But black people love talking about black banks. Black banks. These black banks could go to hell. These black banks are an instrument of our oppressors. And that's across the board, where these black banks are giving a lot more loans to black churches. They're much more willing to modify the loan and work with the churches and save them in their time of trouble. So, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't as a black bank. You have to lend to these institutions because these pressure There's pressure from the community. You damn right there's pressure from the community. These people are depositing money in your bank. You're damn right there's going to be pressure from the community. But you also have to serve your bottom line because you're a bank. Let me tell you, let me break down what this bottom line is. Bottom line means that these black banks are in bed with the white banks and are servants to the white banks. That's what all that means right there, that rhetoric they just wrote out. But you also have to serve your bottom line. Your bottom line is white mommy, white daddy. Okay? The reason why they're so willing to throw a black church under the bus is because white mommy, white daddy is calling the shots on them. And they want that real estate of that AME church anyway. The black bankers really struggle to remain profitable because of the forces of segregation and concentrated poverty. And all of these things that these banks are essentially created to fight become the very seeds of the bank's destruction. They become victims of the poverty that they're trying to alleviate. Nah, it's not just poverty. Stop fronting. They're being victimized by Caucasian European oppression. That's what the real problem is here, y'all. It's not poverty. Poverty is just a symptom of dealing with these devils. We don't generally think of banks as victims. This person writing this needs to stop it. This person writing this really needs to stop, okay? With the shenanigans. We don't really think that we don't really think of banks as victims. No. What you really mean is we don't generally think of Caucasian banks as victims. Let's just tell the truth and shame the devil. We don't generally think of Caucasian banks as victims. Black banks are always victims. Okay, let's just keep it real and stop all the phonies talk. But you make a strong case. One United Bank is a moment of incredible weakness, having taken TARP funds in an incredibly politically charged moment. They're doing what banks do, which is when the loan ultimately can't be paid, the banks can't come to an agreement with the borrower. Then they're going to do what the banks have to do. And then the banks look like the exploiter. Let me tell you something, y'all. Black banks are nothing but a financial instrument of Caucasian oppressors to use as pawns to pilfer our communities. That's what black banks are. And I don't know why we don't know this. The real exploiter is not the black bank. It's the person that rocks the cradle. And that's white mommy, white daddy. That's right, this theme of exploitation. My first book, How the Other Half Banks. I talk about payday loans, check cashiers, and the kind of exploitation where they're concentrated in poor communities. Let me tell you something. All these things are just another euphemism for black banks. Payday loans, check cashers, rent to own, all that kind of stuff. These are nothing but other financial instruments of banks. That's all they are. That's all they are. Black banks also suffer this charge that you're exploiting because you charge more for these loans. You're supposed to be helping, but because of this high interest rate and because you are profiting from these loans, you're an exploiter. The reason why black banks have to charge higher interest rates is because they work for white mommy. They are pawns of white mommy, white daddy. That's why they have to charge that, y'all. Y'all, please, we're going to have to get prophetic vision to see what really is going on. You don't need prophetic vision for this. It's just common sense. And it's the same with payday lenders. There's the other side. Maybe the libertarians or the right wing view that this is the cost of lending. If you have high risk, you have to charge high interest. I agree with both sides. It is too much to pay. It's unfair to our society that the poor pay more for these services. It's unfair that Black communities have to pay more for these services, but it's also not exploitation. It can be the cost of lending because you have concentrated risk and concentrated poverty. The concentrated risk and concentrated poverty is created by our oppressors, and they charge us more for the risk of the concentrated risk and the concentrated poverty that they create. That creates these high interest loans. So I gave y'all a lot of information here. Y'all, we're all adults. I get it. We're all adults. I know that the only people that we really trust with our money is the devil. I understand. I get it now. I really get it. But y'all, don't y'all think it's about time for us to start trusting the Most High with our wealth, with our treasures? Don't you think it's about time that we start trusting the people of the Most High? I'm not talking about wicked people who claim to be serving the Most High. I'm talking about really righteous people. I would love to get together, team up with some families and put somebody through school, trade school, whatever kind of school they want to go to, and they're gifted in and they're going to follow through. I would love to get together and take my resources, my few pennies, and invest it in a young person or older person. Maybe you want to learn a new trade. Maybe you want to learn a new skill. I would love to take my money and put it into somebody's life, somebody's business. I would love to do that. Somebody who really loved the Most High for real, for real. I would love to do that. I would love to do that more than I would love to put my money in the hands of Satan. But I don't hear these kind of sermons being preached. I don't hear this kind of sermon, call to action, putting your money where your mouth is. You say you love the people of the Most High, but you ain't never invested in nobody of the Most High. And soon as people start talking about investing into the saints, we start talking about. I was on another chat in brother the Ark's Bible study on their channel, and soon as he started talking about sharing money, people start texting in the chat room. Well, people only got a little bit of money. That's the first thing people start talking about. What they ain't got, how little they got. I ain't got nothing to give. But I noticed that all those people were sitting on the chat, being taught, listening to the teaching, being encouraged by the teaching, being blessed by the teaching. But soon as he mentioned about giving, you know what Negroes start doing? Well, so some people on fixed income, some people on welfare, some people on Section 8. Well, a lot of our people ain't hardly got nothing. But yeah, all y'all on the feed consuming though. It's really interesting, our people. But if Brother Morey was a white man, nobody would say nothing like that. Nobody would even, they just start throwing money at him. They'll start throwing money on the super chat. They'll start throwing money on the PayPal. I want to invest in our people. That's what I'm really, really serious about. Investing in our people, our businesses. I don't care if you know what you're doing. I invest in your business. That's what I'm talking about. So this is just a little cursory history. This is just a little, I'm just skimming the surface with this history of black banks and Israelites, black people. This is our history with banks, y'all. Banking is a form of slavery, y'all. Banking is a form of slavery. Banking with your enemy is a form of chattel slavery. That's all it is, y'all. Soon as they freed us in 1865, they set up a freedmen's savings and trust for black people. They just set up, all they were doing was setting up another form of chattel slavery. That's all banking is for black people, y'all. The amount of our people that benefit from having their money in the bank is negligible, y'all. It's nothing to even talk about. It's nothing to talk about. Most of our people have lost more money than they have generated. Did y'all see that? Did anybody see that? Y'all saw I read that plaque? Did y'all see that plaque that I showed y'all on that page? In 1865, right after they freed the slave, they said, let's set up a way to put them in another form of slavery. And let's call it the Freedmen's Savings and Trust. That's all it was, y'all. So now listen to this. After the Emancipation Proclamation, they started the Freedmen's Savings and Trust. So that means you're really not free. You're really not free. They said we're not going to enslave them directly. We're going to slave them by taking their money. And that's exactly what they did, y'all. That's exactly what they did. So anyway, that's basically all I wanted to come on here. Hey, could I get some more thumbs up if you guys don't mind? I see I got a few more people in here than I got thumbs. Just give me at least one more. At least one more, you know. At least one more. Okay. I'll be satisfied with one more. They still getting our people with high interest on homes. Exactly. Exactly, CG. What's going on, brother? A Hadassah, Pamela Lufkin, Ari Yahoo, Israel, Shalom, and Kenyan Design. How are you doing? Good to see you too. Yeah, like and share, y'all. Like and share. I appreciate that, Hadassah. Yeah, like and share, y'all. Y'all, we gonna have to, y'all, if we don't bring our money together, if we don't bring our love together, if we don't bring our talents together, if we don't bring our time together, we really can't really be calling each other Ak and Aki and all that. It's just fake, brother this and sister that. You know, it's just fake. If we're not going to bring together our love, our time, our families, our talent, and our money, we really not real brothers. We really not real brothers like that. We fronting. We just doing some little Christian talk. brother this, brother that, and nobody sees each other for a whole week. We don't do nothing together. We ain't building nothing together. We ain't making nothing together. We're not growing nothing together, but we call each other brothers. Come on, y'all. That's fake. That's fake. I'm tired of that fake stuff, y'all. That Christianity stuff gotta go. All that brother sister stuff, and nobody even know each other. Nobody know where you live. Nobody's been to your house and ate at your table. Nobody's come to your house to eat at your table. Y'all don't go nowhere and do nothing together. Y'all don't build nothing together. Y'all don't make nothing together. Y'all children don't marry each other. Yeah, stop. All this fake brotherhood. I don't like fake brotherhood stuff. I'd rather be alone by myself. Exactly. Exactly, CG. Yeah. Ariyahu. I think that's why they gave us texting to give us this counterfeit illusion of community and friend, but nobody's really dealing with each other face to face. That's a very powerful thing you just said, that Ariya Yisrael. Exactly. Everybody feel comfortable just sitting on the computer and texting and sending DMs and all this garbage, but nobody is shaking hands. Nobody's embracing each other. Nobody's building together. I'm talking about really building together, building like houses and fixing cars and, doing repairs on each other's houses and stuff, homeschooling each other's children, feeding each other's children. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. I ain't talking about no texting, sending emails and all this stuff. I'd rather put money right in people's hands. I really do. I really rather put money right in your hands and look in your eyes. That's what I really rather do. But anyway, y'all, I didn't want to stay on here a long time. Too busy hating on one another instead of helping. Yep, that's true. That's true. We don't know our people phone numbers. Exactly. Ain't that crazy? But we brothers and sisters. We brothers and sisters, but we don't even know each other's phone number. We don't even know what state each one of us live in. Boy, it's getting crazy, y'all. It's getting crazy in these streets. For real. Before we had computers and stuff, people talked to each other, on the phone. But most of the time, you was in people's face. You was doing eyeball to eyeball business deals and friendships. I don't think that the internet is a curse per se, but I think we need to get back to the rudimentary things, that made us a people, that make us a nation. Yeah, that's why we got to pray for our people. We got to pray for our people, and we got to work out our own salvation with fear and trembling, so we will be eligible to work with other saints. I'm not talking about the ain'ts. I'm talking about the saints. So you got the saints and you got the ain'ts. The ain'ts are there to hate and cause trouble and confusion, gossip and slow stuff down. Those are the ain'ts. But I'm talking about the saints. Right. But anyway, y'all, I'm going to get off of here. Y'all way too kind. You way too kind, Pamela Lumpkin. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. You're very, very kind. Very kind and gracious. I appreciate it. You're very, very kind. Too kind. I appreciate it. All glory to the Most High. All glory to the Most High. But anyway, y'all, you all take it easy. May the Most High bless you and keep you. May he make his face to shine upon you and give you peace. This is the One Tough Guy channel with Prophet Roe Nabi, family prophet to the angel of the church, to the Laodiceans who are Israelite, scattered to the four corners of the earth. Wherever you are, wherever you hear this broadcast, know that the Most High has not forgotten about you. You are still his people, and you still the apple of his eye and the object upon which he bestows his supreme regard. This is Prophet Rohe Nabi, signing out, saying shalom. I'm out of here. We're going to have a part 2 of this. We're going to finish this article the next time I come back. So that's what we're going to deal with. Yeah, don't feel bad, Hadassah. I'm still learning how to spell it myself. It's a mouthful. I just learned how to say it thanks to my Hebrew brother Malik. All right, well, stay tuned. I'll probably be doing it tomorrow. But I'm out of here, y'all. Shalom. Every day is the same.